Hello there. Oh dear, I'm not sure this is what Keir Starmer had in mind when he blurted out his ill-fated "you're all far right" speech. In case you've missed it, there's a new hashtag on Twitter. Hashtag Far Right Thugs Unite. And it's being signed up to by all manner of people of all colours and creeds and ages. Because it is a meme hashtag, and it's taking the sting right out of Starmer's attempt to grind the people down by calling everyone with concerns about the direction this country is now taking as far right. Grannies are signing up to this new hashtag. Welcome integrated immigrants are signing up to it. Ex-forces members are signing up to it. Former police officers are signing up to it. Concerned mums and dads are signing up to it. Social media influencers are signing up to it. And I've got a couple of messages from Tommy Robinson later in the video too, and they're important. Now, the establishment was hoping unimaginatively that trotting out the old far-right racist tropes would convince the cowed masses to keep their heads below the parapet while the government completed the socialist destruction of our great country. Well, it has backfired spectacularly. The number of ordinary integrated Brits signing up to this hashtag is phenomenal. You can see from the hashtag Twitter page the diversity of those signing up to take on that mantle. It's stuff like this that will destroy the narrative of the uniparty state and its hating no-hoper useful idiots. And amongst those signing up is Canon Phil Harris, whose video I'm sure you've seen, and I'll put it at the end of this video in case you have missed it. Now, the uniparty state and the lefties are trying to pin all the blame for the recent riots on Mr. Tommy Robinson. That's right. As far as they are concerned, it's all down to him. But he's come out fighting and completely trashed the claim by pointing out that he's not the one that's committed the atrocities that he and all the ordinary people across the land are protesting against. As I said yesterday, we want the scourge of knife crime, general crime and grooming stopped in its tracks. The vast majority, who usually stay silent except at the ballot box, want to see an end to mass legal and illegal migration. Keir Starmer and his cabinet cronies know this, but they carry on regardless, don't they? They think they know better, or maybe they're under some external WEF-style influence. But they are just willfully ignoring the people. Successive governments have claimed they will cut immigration. Keir Starmer even boasted about deporting people when he was CPS. So what's changed now? Why no more talk about anything other than protecting his open borders policy? Because within weeks of him getting into number 10, it's become painfully obvious that he is not the change he claimed he was during the election period. He has formed a continuity uniparty government pressing ahead with the Open Borders programme and the Net Zero programme to destroy the UK as we know it. Nothing has changed, nor will it, while we allow those charlatans to run our country. We still have members of a certain demographic wandering around publicly carrying and displaying weapons. We still have a two-tier policing system. In fact, I would argue that it's got worse under Starmer. And Keir Stalin Starmer has become the best recruiting sergeant the far right has ever had. The trouble is, however does he define far right when our grannies are turning up peacefully to these nationwide events, calling themselves of part of the hashtag Far Right Thugs Unite? Now, I also want to point out that Tommy Robinson has also called for no more violence. In another video overnight, Tommy said we do need to be peaceful. And he wants those organising these events to show leadership and stop the mask-wearing violent interlopers worming their way in and spoiling everything. Some might say that the time for talking has passed because the establishment is still not listening. But I would point out that this is the first time for many decades that the ordinary people have stood up to the powers that be and made their voices heard. And that is what we have to push. We need London the 27th of July to be the model. Be in no doubt that one event was a massive wake-up call to the UK Communist Collective, and that was the 27th of July. And now they're out to smash the new Unite the UK movement, one venue and one event at a time. We must not allow them to do so. And part of this is the use of the mainstream press to portray every single one of these enough is enough rallies as a meeting of the far right. Don't listen to them. Just turn up at one if you are able to, and all you will see is the true ordinary but now angry British people gathering to make their voices heard. And if you are one of the very tiny number of masked loonies turning up for a bit of opportune mayhem or looting, we don't need you at our meets. We don't want you at our meets. No masks required is what I say. Now, I was at the Portsmouth Guildhall yesterday, and later on today I will be at another event, because the local events are so important. But I won't say where quite yet, as I don't want to be the cause of violent counter-protesters turning up. Now finally, I'll leave you in the good hands of Canon Phil Harris. This is eye-opening. Listen to what he says, and remember, the problem is now the MDL, not the now completely wound down EDL.
Hello, Canon Phil Harris here. It's been 2 days since Sir Keir Starmer made his ill-fated communist speech where he told the concerned citizens of the United Kingdom that they were far right. In fact, it's been the narrative pretty well all over social media, and the mainstream media are blaming certain individuals for the unrest in the country. How myopic are people? How short-sighted and nearsighted are people? A wise man once said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." We are seeing the outworkings of that in this once great nation. So, by Sir Keir's definition, as a far right priest in the Church of God, I feel that it is my duty to respond. Sir Keir, I have no idea who is advising you. You received a mandate on the back of the lowest electoral turnout for decades and probably the second lowest turnout for a general election in UK history. You gained a mere 11 million votes, which means that nearly 39 million people did not vote for you and are not interested in your policies. And yet you have the audacity and the propensity to insult the majority, the silent majority of our nation. Today there is an uprising across this once great nation as the political liberal elite have removed themselves and placed themselves above the people that they are supposed to serve. History tells us that this does not end well. History repeats itself. It has to, because nobody listens. In recent days, we have seen an army officer stabbed 12 times. We've seen riots in Leeds for 3 days where your government was incapable or unwilling to take action other than to return a vulnerable child to the family from whence the child was required to be removed for concerns over their well-being. 2 thugs violently assaulted 3 armed police officers in an airport, breaking the nose of a female officer, and they've not even been charged. Then riots in Rotherham for the same people who committed the assaults. 3 little girls were murdered. Let me say that again. 3 little girls were murdered at a holiday club. 10 were injured. And yet you allow the mainstream media to portray the mass murderer as a sweet choir boy. Sword fights and machete attacks occurred in Southend. 28 men were convicted of gang raping a British girl, receiving 400 years because of their crimes, and those crimes being so revolting and brutal that they can't even be published. 8 men charged with gang raping another British child. We then have the report of a woman who was beaten to death by 2 Somali immigrants whilst walking her dog. Knife murders and knife crime are out of control, and they are normally committed by a certain demographic. But you don't speak about those. You speak about the far right, the silent majority, those who were centrist a few years ago until the liberal elite chipped away at moral standards of family in this nation. We've then had 7 months of 600,000 plus people calling for the genocide of Jews. We've watched a two-tier policing where people can wave a Palestinian flag or a Hamas flag and not be in any way, see that as concerning, but wave a British flag or wave an Israeli flag and you get arrested. We've seen a postman pushed onto the tracks of the tube. All of this is happening whilst we prostrate ourselves before Islam. 117 million has gone to mosques. 6 billion has been spent on illegals. And yet you announce that you intend to freeze and starve pensioners. We have the receipts for your hypocrisy at the dispatch box. We've seen decades of Islamic terrorism. And then recently, pro-Palestinian and Black Lives Matter marches that you never condemned because of the Labour Mayor of London and your large Muslim voter base. And let's not forget, Just Stop Oil. What is your response? You condemn the centrists of yesteryear who are protesting about children being murdered, who are protesting about children being murdered. The discrimination of the two-tier policing against the native British population, where you seek to ban far-right protests. In 1919, Britain was in revolt. That time it was the socialists, or dare I say the communists, that were revolting. The government of the day were terrified. Just over 100 years later, we're here again. The difference is that the sensible people, the real grown-ups who are now standing up for this nation and for liberty and for freedom and all that is good, you can call us what you want, but as we peacefully take a stand, the numbers will grow because we realize that a house divided cannot stand. Why is that statement so important? It wasn't just a wise man that said that. It was the Son of the living God. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And you, Sir Keir, have divided the house. The nation has been allowed to be overrun by yourselves and by previous governments, by people who share different values and who seek to subdue us. That mustn't happen. We are happy for people to come here and be part of this nation who want to contribute and integrate, but that is not what you have championed. And so people are on the streets and the momentum will grow. It will grow. It's time to have a rethink. It's time to put the wrongs right. And it is time to stand up for the good people of this nation. And can I say to the good people of this nation, where we do have to stand, where we do have to march, where we do have to quietly gather in cities and towns all over the nation to make our stand, can I say this? Can we make sure that our protests are honourable, are peaceful, and we are not drawn into conflict? But now is the time to make a stand. Now is the time for us to take our nation back before it's too late. Thanks for listening. I'll see you again soon. May God bless you, and pray for our nation and give glory to an almighty God. Amen.